a small group of people wake up in the morning and their whole mindset is to screw someone over. Because the mindset of a scam artist is actually to screw someone over as much as possible to his or her benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a majority of people do not have the skepticism necessary to catch these scams, to be aware that there's a scam taking place. That's the only explanation I can think. So people want to believe something so much. We want to believe that what someone's saying is true. But that's with everything. So because there needs to be good faith, right? When we're talking to one another. So I have to believe you when you tell me, I did my best, but I couldn't make it. I have to believe that you're of good faith. But some people just function off of bad faith from the moment they wake up. And they will tell you something and you will believe it.
Yeah. I do think a lot of times consumers, and I'm talking about inexperienced consumers, tend to choose the get rich quick schemes more often.
Yeah.
A lot of times that happens because they don't see the mechanisms, they don't understand the mechanisms of a get rich quick scheme. You can see them, usually you can see them from a mile ahead. Alameda was giving people a 15% return on an annual basis. That's what they said in their statement. I think it was something like that, yeah. If you, and that's not impossible, but it's pretty high.
Yeah.
When But in order to know that, you have to understand the industry, and a lot of people only see the money account. They see, let's say, I mean, you have all these. A lot of times they mention amounts where you ask yourself, it's impossible. I mean, what I've also seen lately, but that's what I've seen, is that the scammers are getting smarter as well. They don't promise big amounts. They
Oh,
promise normal amounts. That's one thing I've seen.
yeah.
But in general, a lot of times they give you the big amount. You give us, we're gonna give you 30% a year, or something like that. Or money back guaranteed. Those you've heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Pay money up front and you might
Yeah.
get it back.
They are getting smarter. But okay, so I agree with you that if you're talking to an inexperienced customer, that they would
Hmm.
easily fall for something like
Hmm.
that. But if you see what these guys did, so what FTX did
Hmm.
with the mass campaigns, with the ads, with the celebrities, with
Yes.
the
That
like
would raise a red flag with me. But that's
legitimate.
personal.
I don't know if so. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it would, because you might think as well.
No, it
Hey,
raised a red flag with me. So
yeah. So
so
okay, so I want to hear why it raised a red flag with you. But what I just want to say is that when it happens, if you're an inexperienced consumer, and you see Steph Curry, you see Tom Brady, you see what's the guy's name? Larry David.
Larry
You see
David.
these you
You
see
start bonus.
the sponsorships, uh, the, the sponsorship. So you see the logo on the Miami Heat Stadium. You see the partnership in with the Golden State Warriors. At some point, you will think, if you're inexperienced, you will think that this is that it is something legitimate.
Yeah,
Where
because you're inexperienced. What's the first thing you do when you buy a car?
you if you're not a mechanic, you have to
What
get a
is the first
mechanic.
thing you do? What is the first thing you do when you buy a car?
What's the first thing you do when you have to
First thing
check
you
the
do.
car?
No, no, I'm talking about the brand new car. You have a bunch of money.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do
Or
you
you
you,
shop
you
around.
go to the do you go to the
You shop around.
you go do your research first, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't watch on TV a ad and then you go buy it, right?
That's true.
That's the
That's
first
true.
thing. How do you do your research? You go
That's true.
to the website, you check who's running the show. What I'm going to talk about it later, because I'm very surprised that a lot of companies invested the way they did into this. Well, that's another thing, because usually they do very good due diligence
Due
about
diligence. Yeah.
the team who's running it. But you basically you check who's running it. You run the background.
If I see it's a kid in pajamas,
It's not a kid. It's not about that. It's not that part. It's about who they are and who the team is. How much experience do they have? I mean, it's the clothing says nothing about the person. The clothing says nothing about it, about the
so
bring.
I agree with you that the clothing says nothing about the brain. However, it is a red flag.
I understand
It's
what you're
not
trying to say.
so what I want to say is when I tell you so when I if I tell you the CEO of a bank of a 16 billion, no, just let's stick with FTX. The CEO of a, or at least the CEO of a 16 billion dollar company. Such a person would need to be in board, in meetings, in boards, um, with other professionals in that area.
Yeah.
You have the outlier who is, and he's not even an outlier because you had everyone wants to say Steve Jobs, but Steve Jobs was the sales. He was basically selling the product.
Yeah.
But
I
you understand
understand.
what I'm saying? If you
I understand what you're saying, but you're
and there's a
thinking in corporate. You're not thinking about a startup founder. They dress differently in
I
general.
I agree with you. But if it's a 16, if you're going to deal with my money, I want it to be corporate. I can still get you, but I want it to be corporate. That's all I'm saying.
I
If
want
it's something
it to be
else, I would
structured
agree with you.
corporate. I don't care about whether he's sitting in. I'm not gonna say this. I don't care what he's wearing to work. I'm gonna
Who?
keep it PC. I'm gonna keep it PC because I was about to say something real wild,
Okay.
real gender neutral.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't care what he's wearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about how he's running the business and whether he's experienced. He can dress, dude. He can dress a hoodie every day and still have a corporate structure. I mean, there are a lot of founders that are like that.
I agree with you. Can you name me? Give me some examples of people who were dressing up like he was, because he was not wearing shirts and turtlenecks, and he was just wearing baggy clothes as
Every
well.
every every what's the guy's name from Ethereum?
Because if it's a startup,
Wait a
okay,
second. What's the guy's
okay,
name from Ethereum? What's his name?
I don't know at the top of my head.
Ethereum founder. Yes, it's the Russian looking guy. Vitalik. He's a designer of Ethereum. You got to understand. This is what he was wearing to a conference. Okay, maybe I cannot. So I will look up. I will look up whether I can find him in a suit.
So what?
And he
So
has a
what's the,
button up.
so
It's
my
a shirt,
question is. So yeah, okay. No, yeah.
not a shirt. Another. I can't look at this one. Would you buy Ethereum based on this?
No.
Okay. But Ethereum was a long time of very high stock.
It was
So
pretty, yeah.
you gotta separate the two. Tony Hsieh, R.I.P. Tony Hsieh. Is how do you write his name again? Hsieh Sapos. He was wearing more button ups though, I have to say. He was wearing more button ups. But in general, what you will get is and that's why you gotta separate the two. I understand what you're saying because he's a corporate guy. He has to create a corporate structure, but the way he dresses doesn't validate because there are. Hey, let me give you one. Let me give you one. I bet you I can only find him in suits. Suits. You know who this is, right?
Of course I know what it is. Yeah.
Only suits.
Yeah.
So you can talk about the other way. It's. I mean, Bernie was an outlier probably as well, but because he had both on paper the experience, but you wouldn't think that he would actually be the guy who who did what he did. But he had the experience, he had the name and the dress. Let's put it that way. But I do understand your point. I do understand your point. One thing, and that's what I said. You do your research, you find out who is running, but because it's not only the CEO you gotta look at. You gotta look at the whole team.
Yeah.
You would find out that I forget her name every time. Caroline. Caroline was only 2 years experienced in any role related to trading, and then she's CEO. Dude, boy, that's a red flag to me.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is the clothes are not the only thing, but it is definitely one thing.
Wow. But
the thing is that there are a lot of white collared criminals are oftentimes buttoned up.
Buttoned up.
Three-piece suits. I agree with you. However, what I'm saying is that, so I'm not saying it's everything, but if you look the part, it's one, let's say it's one check. Yes. But I'm not saying it's everything. It's not the clothes that's everything, but it's just one check. If we're talking about money, so if we're talking about money and management of money, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna tell you. You know what? I'm gonna give you an anecdote. I know of a person who was a client who wanted. He never became a client, but he just came to me once for legal advice at my law practice, and he told me that he went to another colleague's office first, but when he saw the car that the colleague was driving, he said, hell no, this person cannot be a good lawyer. And then he came to my office. So what I want to say is that, again, it's not everything, because some people will appreciate, let's say, the down-to-earthness, but it is something that raises an alarm if we're talking about money. But this, you get my point, I get your point.
Obviously have a different way of looking at it, but I get your point.